Blackstone Audio presents Dark Road Home, a Gin Sullivan mystery by Anna Carlisle. This book is read by Coleen Marlo. 1. The trick was to get to the forest preserve late in the afternoon, after the mommy brigade had packed their strollers into their SUVs and headed home, and before everyone else got off work. When Gin Sullivan hit it just right, she could put in 6 miles without seeing more than a few other people. Later in the summer, it would be impossible. The sweltering Chicago heat and humidity would drive even the most dedicated runners off the trails in the heat of the day. But so far, this June had been cool and pleasant. Gin pulled into a spot vacated by a frazzled-looking woman in a Suburban and was on the trail by 4:30. The occasional early departure from the office was one of the perks of working as a medical examiner. After clearing the day's caseload, Gin had left with a clear conscience, knowing that new arrivals to the morgue would not mind waiting until tomorrow. Patience, in Gin's opinion, was a virtue of the dead. Besides, she had been in the office before anyone else arrived, and she'd spend several hours working on a journal article tonight after a shower and a quick dinner. This time on the trail was the single indulgence she would allow herself today, if indulgence was the right word for it. Gin kept up an easy, steady pace for the first mile, until the path came to a T, the right branch continuing along the picturesque Calsag Channel. Gin took the left branch. The terrain quickly became much more challenging, rising up into a rocky, mountainous mound. Thanks to the engineers who dug the channel almost 100 years ago and dumped out the dirt next to it, the preserve provided some of the only decent trail running for hundreds of miles. Gin headed up the trail, modulating her breathing and increasing her pace, aiming for the narrow space between exhilaration and exhaustion. In those moments, her thoughts splintered and faded and her mind emptied, and there was nothing but the slapping of her feet on dirt, the pain in her lungs, and the faint roar of the interstate in the distance. She picked her way across a rocky quarter-mile before the trail flattened out into a meadow with views of the skyline far in the distance. She paused at her customary turnaround spot, doubling over with her hands on her knees, breathing hard under a stand of aspen while a squirrel chattered angrily from an overhanging branch. Gin drank in the cool, fresh air, free of the faintly unpleasant odors that filled her days at work. The chemical disinfectant, the ammonia-like formaldehyde, the metallic, sweet, musty smell of decomposition. For these few precious moments.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?